If you had to choose one missing persons case in America that has baffled the nation for 2 decades, it would be the case of Maura Murray, a promising nursing student, a minor car crash on a mountain road, a 911 call, and then, within less than 10 minutes, she was gone without a trace. No blood, no body, no phone, no one knows where she went. 20 years later, the Maura Murray case remains a symbol of haunting mystery, so much so that many have called it America's black hole, a case where every theory could be true and every clue leads nowhere. But before she vanished into the cold, dark woods of New Hampshire, what really happened in her life? Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982 in Hanson, Massachusetts, the fourth of 5 siblings. From a young age, she was seen as smart, calm, and athletic. In high school, she was a standout track athlete. She later earned a spot at the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point. But during her freshman year at West Point, Maura was caught shoplifting from a campus store and was asked to leave. She transferred to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. To her friends and family, Maura remained a polite, friendly girl with a bright future. But underneath it all, she was facing mounting pressures: academic stress, relationship troubles, and increasingly erratic behavior. On February 5, 2004, while working a night shift at her campus dorm security job, Maura received a phone call. No one knows what was said, but right after the call, she broke down crying uncontrollably. Her supervisor had to walk her back to her dorm. In a later report, the supervisor described Maura as appearing like she had just experienced something very upsetting. A few days later, on February 9, 2004, came the day that would change everything. Maura emailed her professors, claiming there had been a family emergency and she would be out for a few days. In reality, no one in her family was aware of any emergency. On her computer, she had printed out directions to several lodging places in Vermont, her first known sign of planning a trip. That afternoon, Maura withdrew $280 in cash from her bank account, nearly everything she had. She then purchased a few bottles of alcohol and some snacks at a convenience store, got into her old 1996 black Saturn, and headed north. She left no note for her roommate, told no one in her family, didn't inform her boyfriend Billy, who was stationed at an army base in Oklahoma, and to this day, no one knows exactly where she was headed. Around 7 p.m., while driving on Route 112, a remote mountain road in Haverhill, New Hampshire, Maura's car slid off the road and lightly struck a snowbank or tree. A local resident, Faith Westman, heard the crash and called 911 at 7:27 p.m. Another neighbor, Butch Atwood, a school bus driver, stopped and found Maura standing outside her car, seemingly uninjured. He offered help, but she declined and said she had already called AAA. However, there was no cell phone service in the area. Roughly 10 minutes later, when police arrived at the scene, Maura Murray was gone. Her car was still there, the headlights were off, the doors were locked. Inside the car were her school books, a broken box of wine, her airbags had deployed, but there was no blood, no phone, and no Maura. The last time anyone saw her was around 7:30 p.m. Police arrived at 7:45. In less than 15 minutes, a young woman had vanished as if she never existed. As night fell and temperatures dropped below freezing, police began searching the woods near the crash site. They brought in search dogs, but Maura's scent was traced for only a few hundred feet before it abruptly stopped. One theory emerged: maybe she had gotten into another vehicle, either willingly or by force. Maura's family, especially her father Fred Murray, rushed to the scene and immediately began pressuring authorities. Fred accused police of treating the case as a voluntary disappearance and not investigating it seriously. He believed his daughter had been abducted or killed and that the crucial early window to uncover the truth had been wasted. Police, on the other hand, said they found no evidence of foul play. They suggested Maura may have been trying to escape the pressures of her life and needed time alone. But if that were true, where is she? Why has there been no phone call, no bank activity, no email since that night? Right after Maura Murray went missing, the official search operation escalated rapidly. But instead of providing answers, the early investigative efforts only raised more questions. Local, state, and later federal authorities became involved. Large-scale search campaigns were launched involving scent-tracking dogs, helicopters, thermal imaging, and volunteer crews. Strangely, though, no credible trace of Maura was ever found. One key detail was the dog trail. Police bloodhounds picked up Maura's scent and followed it for about 100 to 150 yards from the car before it suddenly ended in the middle of the road. This led investigators to suspect that Maura had gotten into another vehicle, possibly with someone she knew, or possibly under duress. Her family didn't buy the idea that she had left on her own. Her father, Fred Murray, became the most vocal advocate for her case. He repeatedly criticized the police, appeared on TV, organized private searches, and even hired private investigators. Fred firmly believed, "My daughter didn't run away. Something happened to her, and someone out there knows what it was." Yet, despite all efforts, the available information remained scattered and inconclusive. No one had seen Maura after the crash, there were no credit card transactions, no phone activity, and no confirmed sightings at any motel, hospital, or police station in the area. What made things even more confusing was Maura's behavior in the days leading up to her disappearance. She clearly appeared to be planning something, but no one knew what it was. On Maura's computer, police found that she had looked up information about cabins, motels, and lodging in Vermont and New Hampshire. She had printed directions to at least one location and saved route information, but there was no evidence that she had made a reservation or contacted any specific place. Another detail that raised eyebrows was a letter found in her dorm room, an unsent love letter believed to be addressed to her boyfriend, Billy. The contents hinted at emotional tension and disappointment. However, Billy, who was stationed in Oklahoma at the time, denied that their relationship was seriously strained. So, was Maura taking a short trip to clear her head, as some believed, or was she fleeing something much more serious? Then came another bizarre twist on the very day after Maura disappeared. Billy, her boyfriend, received a strange call phone. When he answered, the only thing on the other end was shallow breathing, no words, and then silence. The call was traced back to a calling card from a payphone at the Red Roof Inn in Haverhill, the same area near where Maura went missing. But when police investigated the hotel, they found no suspicious guests or leads. That call remains one of the most haunting, unsolved pieces of the puzzle. With no success from official searches, public interest shifted from hope to speculation. A wave of theories began to emerge, fueled by amateur detectives, online forums, and true crime enthusiasts. Maura left voluntarily. This was the initial theory pursued by police. They believed Maura was under pressure, dealing with academic stress, relationship drama, and minor legal issues like using a stolen credit card. Her actions, buying alcohol, withdrawing all her money, and telling no one where she was going, could suggest she was trying to start over. She wandered off and succumbed to the elements. Some speculated that after the crash, Maura, possibly intoxicated or in shock, wandered into the woods and died from exposure. Temperatures that night were below 10 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 12 degrees Celsius. But that theory doesn't explain why no body has ever been found despite repeated searches of the surrounding forest. She was abducted or murdered. This is the most chilling and widely believed theory. Route 112 is remote, dark, and largely unmonitored, ideal conditions for someone with malicious intent to stop, deceive, or force Maura into their vehicle. But no suspicious vehicle was ever spotted, and no local person was reported missing or involved. Maura's family never gave up. They launched a website called Maura is Missing, organized annual vigils, and kept updating the public. In 2007, her case was officially entered into the National Database for Long-Term Missing Persons. Meanwhile, the internet community turned her disappearance into kind of a true crime legend. Reddit forums, the Missing Maura Murray podcast, and dozens of YouTube channels dug deep into the case, exploring everything from psychological profiles to cell tower pings to the possibility of a larger cover-up. While everyone seemed to have a theory, all agreed on one thing. There were too many inconsistencies, and this case could not be written off as a simple runaway. By 2014, 10 years since Maura Murray vanished, people were already calling it one of the most unbreakable mysteries in modern American history. With each passing year, the hope of finding her alive faded further, and yet, strangely, the case was never forgotten. In fact, public interest grew stronger. Over the next decade, the internet community played a huge role in keeping the case alive. The Missing Maura Murray podcast, launched by Tim and Lance in 2015, attracted millions of listeners. They interviewed family members, witnesses, former investigators, even neighbors who lived near the crash site. Old theories were dissected, timelines were reconstructed in extreme detail, and every tiny clue, like that eerie phone call the next day, was pored over by thousands. Soon, the buzz spread across YouTube, Reddit, and TikTok. Social media creators launched dedicated channels focused solely on Maura's case. They used digital mapping tools, satellite imagery, GPS data, and even AI to simulate the crash scene. Reenactment videos showing Maura standing beside her Saturn in the snowy dark, headlights dimming, then vanishing, became iconic and deeply haunting. One of the most talked about developments came in 2021, when New Hampshire State Police received an anonymous tip. The report said there was a strange smell and suspicious flooring in a house located not far from the crash site, a house that had been casually mentioned by locals since 2004, but had never been thoroughly searched. On October 11, 2021, forensic teams officially excavated the basement of the property. Under the watchful eye of local news crews and thousands following on online live streams, investigators dug more than 5 feet deep. But once again, no remains, no blood, no sign of Maura. Another flicker of hope extinguished. The case fell quiet again until 2023-2024, when TikTok and Reddit unexpectedly reignited massive public interest. Several TikTokers claiming to be amateur sleuths said they had found previously overlooked traffic cam footage potentially showing a suspicious vehicle traveling the opposite direction at the time Maura disappeared. While these claims were never verified, they went viral almost instantly. At the same time, hashtags like Maura Murray, disappearance mystery, and true crime TikTok surged in popularity. Videos analyzing call recordings, recreating the last known moments, and interviewing criminology experts racked up millions of views within days, especially among women aged 25 to 45. In February 2024, the 20th anniversary of Maura's disappearance, her family held a large memorial near the site where she vanished. Local news, as well as national outlets like CNN and NBC, covered the event. Many of them recapped the entire timeline of the case for viewers unfamiliar with it. At the memorial, Maura's father, Fred Murray, now in his 70s, spoke to the gathered crowd. "I've spent 20 years of my life looking for my daughter. I don't care what happened. I just want to know the truth. If anyone out there knows something, say something." But once again, no one came forward. As of 2025, Maura Murray has been missing for 21 years. No one has ever been arrested, no remains have ever been found, no evidence has ever conclusively explained what happened. All that's left is an abandoned Saturn on a snowy background, a young woman who vanished in minutes, and millions of people still asking the same question: what really happened? Maybe Maura left willingly to escape her pressures. Maybe she wandered into the woods and succumbed to the cold. Maybe someone saw an opportunity and took her. But no theory has ever been proven. And that is exactly what makes this case so haunting. Maura Murray's disappearance isn't just an unsolved case, it's a symbol of how helpless modern investigations can be in the face of vanishing acts that defy logic. What can we learn from this case? Sometimes a single moment, a minor crash in the night, a decision to walk or stay can change the entire course of a life. And even in our hyper-connecting world, there are still stories that slip through the cracks. If you believe this case deserves more awareness, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and share this video. Who knows, someone watching right now might hold the missing piece to a puzzle that's haunted America for 21 years.